Chuck, I wanted to ask you maybe to give a little perspective on, 88 years. What do we think of as the accomplishments of Social Security? What does it mean to our society?
Well, that's a great place to start because I find that in these discussions, we have a tendency to start in the middle, right? We start arguing about the impending insolvency and what are we going to do about it and how big of a problem is it, et cetera, et cetera. But it's important, I think, to start that discussion by talking about why it matters and what Social Security has accomplished and the role that it plays in people's lives, because otherwise you really can't understand what's at stake in this whole solvency debate. I think there are 2 points I would make first and foremost about that. One is that Social Security is uniquely successful, I think, as a political achievement in the sense that it provides very substantial and nearly universal income support to tens of millions of Americans, and it manages to do it in a way that doesn't incite popular revolt over the financing, right? I mean, anyone who works in public policy knows how tough that is to do. Anytime you put together any sort of benefit program, whether it's retirement income or health benefits or unemployment benefits, there's going to be someone who squawks and objects as to how it's going to be financed, who's going to pay for it, and all of that. And we've seen many an initiative either crash and burn or be enacted with great controversy so that people are still arguing about it years and years later. Social Security, remarkably, I think, escapes that. I mean, you consider how much income it provides and how many people it provides it to. I mean, you consider the really substantial financial burdens that are involved with funding it. It's pretty impressive that Americans generally accept it as reasonably fair. It's not that anyone enjoys paying their FICA taxes, of course they don't, but it doesn't seem to stick in their craw the way that many other programs are controversial. And that's pretty impressive. And the other point that I would make is, I think, even more relevant to the solvency discussion, which is that Social Security provides benefits that are uniquely reliable and secure and predictable. Almost every other program the federal government runs, there's a constant renegotiation of the terms, right? It's, what are the benefit levels going to be? Who's eligible? Should there be a means test? Should there be a work requirement, right? And if you're a beneficiary of those programs, you never really know from one year to the next what your benefits are going to be and if you're going to get benefits at all. And why has Social Security generally escaped that? Well, it's escaped that for a very specific reason. And it's because, well, in a more typical income support program, you got one set of people who are paying for the benefits because you're funding it out of the general revenues of the Treasury. And so they're paying for it with their income taxes, and not everybody's paying those income taxes. And you have another set of people who are getting the benefits without necessarily having paid anything to fund the programs. So you have this constant collision of interests and this constant renegotiation of the terms. But Social Security is different. We're all paying into it for the most part. We're all, the beneficiaries and the funders are the same people. And not only that, but there is a direct connection between the benefits you're eligible for and the contributions that you made. And it's a little indirect. It's basically your taxable earnings, but still, I mean, it's indirectly a function of what you contributed that determines what you're eligible for in benefits. And that creates a dynamic where beneficiaries can say, we earned these benefits, we paid for these benefits, and politicians are inhibited from reducing benefits below the levels that workers can justifiably say that, at least in the aggregate, they paid for. And that is the reason that Social Security beneficiaries aren't worried from year to year whether their benefits are going to suddenly be cut. Now, the problem is there's a price for that type of privilege, right? It only works as long as lawmakers are willing to keep in alignment the benefit promises of the program and the amounts that worker contributions can actually finance. If they're not willing to do that, we can't have this type of system, because then we have no relationship between what workers put into the program and what their benefits were. And we revert to the dynamics of a more typical income support program, and benefits would be less secure and they'd constantly be being renegotiated because we'd be funding them in some other way. So there's a lot at stake here. I mean, what's really at stake in this whole solvency discussion is whether we can continue to have the sort of secure, reliable, predictable Social Security system in the future that we've had in the past.